Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody. This is, for me, a very exciting moment, and I'm sure Gert feels the same way, because the work that we're able to talk about, the work that a lot of us have been doing around next generation ideas for Active Directory. And we're not just doing this for the fun of it. We're doing it because application developers, both inside Microsoft and outside, have been asking us to add capabilities that they need for their applications.
I will go back to my own data through the Explorer and look at my identity database, which only has the repository for the identity stuff in it. So I'm sort of isolated myself from the rest of the world. So in here, it's like we will find the system.identity schema, and we will find all the entities that Kim described inside the schema. So we'll find things like federation info, which tells us where the information is coming from. We actually have the kinds table that describes the kind of relationships and the kind of entities that we have inside our system. So for example, if we walk sideways, actually, it doesn't really like small screens, so it's like I need to adjust a little bit.
It needs a wall.
Yeah, we need a projection wall. All right, so what do we have here is so we have a set of kind systems. For example, what is the identity key internal NT name? An identity of a citizen. What are other ones? Let's find one that is actually we're going to use later on. Let's see. All right. So, for example, let's zoom into the identity key ones. So, I cannot click on it from there. It's like I need to do it here. Okay. So I have identity keys, and immediately it's like a quadrant will allow me to explore the relationship. So it will tell me the information that we have, and I can zoom in into the references and see where it's being used. And one of the things is like how kinds are being established is through a kind-to-kind relationship. So this is one of the ways that we will actually establish extensibility. We found that a lot of people want to introduce new kinds of relationships into directories because we simply don't know about it. Do you care about your personal list, your personal group that you want to share with other people? You can simply enter a new kind, and you add that to the kind system. You tell it what kind of, actually, sorry. Switch it over here. What the kind is, right? It's an identity key, and what is the source system? So that way, it's like we can actually tell classes of types into the system and put them together inside the organization of the directory. I took everything inside Microsoft that lives inside Active Directory and moved it into this schema. And one of the things is like, as Kim always said to me, it's like when I joined the team in February, it's like I was like, well, yeah, probably true. It's like data that you cannot see goes stale. He always has this story that things start to rot under a rock or something. But actually it's true. It's like when I started to move all the information out of Active Directory inside SQL Server, or inside the repository, we found that there's like a lot of inconsistent data, old data, stale data. Actually, I'll show you that later on in the demo. So one of the things that people can do is like we have parties inside the system. As Kim said, it's like parties are a first-class citizen. Now, in order to get to this, it's like we need an API. So Kim talked about the logical model. And so we're coming from the world where we have LDAP, talking LDAP to an X500-based store. And what we're showing you today is actually looks like this. Right now we have an API is also called system.identity, which reflects at the programming model level the logical entities as described in the M model. So it describes purely the logical models and the logical relationship. That's what you program against. Then we have a physical link provider that sits underneath there that abstracts the physical implementation. As Kim said, we experimented with 2 installations so far, SQL Server and SQL Azure, actually the old CloudDB store. And actually, Duchamp, program manager in our team, actually did a weekend project to actually push it onto Compact Edition to run it on his phone, right? To sort of give you an idea of the abilities here. Now, also, like we need to, as Kim said, this is a clamp-on, right? We need to integrate this into an existing directory world. So we need to get information out. So in the PDC bits that we'll make available actually next month, because we need to catch up with the M work that has been changing underneath us, we will have a utility that loads information into the directory. That's what we have been using internally. It's called SI Loader. Now, ultimately, that will start to look like this infrastructure, where we have an identity API, which still talks to the logical model, which is abstracted through physical providers, one directly talking to the store, to SQL, being able to pass it on over a WS star or a REST-based protocol, and maybe we'll introduce some more. We'll have an endpoint that can actually pick this up. We will integrate the synchronization layers as they exist today in MMIS and DirSync. And then it's like, in order to provide access for old LDAP clients into the new directory, we'll put an LDAP head onto the virtual layer. So that's sort of gives you the roadmap of where we're going.